Hey, welcome to Empowered Training and Consultation. I'm Dr. Shern, and what we're going to cover today is actually going to take two parts. So, this is going to be a two-part series, really on what's motivating your behavior. I'm going to give you some tools, I'm going to give you some questions to ask. That's going to be in part two. In this first part, what I'm going to cover is really the three domains that I believe drives or motivates people's behavior, including myself, right? So if you were looking at your behavior objectively, you either want to avoid, maintain, or gain something. In this avoid, if your behavior falls into the avoid category, you are more likely motivated by wanting to dodge psychological, emotional, or physical harm. I'm going to say that again. If your behavior is driven primarily, because there's an overlap in all of this, but there's a primary. And if it is to avoid something, you want to dodge either psychological, emotional, or physical harm. Now, if your behavior is motivated more by the motivation or maintaining category, excuse me, the maintaining category, then you either want to maintain psychological, emotional, or physical safety. Say that again. If your behavior is motivated by maintaining something, it is psychological, emotional, or physical safety. If you are motivated by the gain aspect, remember all three can be at work. And I'll talk about how some of this overlap happens in a minute. Um, but if it falls into the gain category primarily, then you want to gain psychological, emotional, or physical safety. I'm going to say that again. You want to gain psychological, emotional, or physical safety. Now, the purpose of understanding what motivates your behavior is so the behavior is the means whereby you sought to achieve the goal. The behavior is the means whereby you sought to achieve the goal. It is your attempt, the behavior that you demonstrate or that you activate to get one of those kind of avoid, maintain, or gain categories is the outlook. It's the outcome that you are seeking. Right. So how does this look in practicality? Remember, I said there's some overlap. Okay. So a person lies. A person lies on the social media on a social media platform, a dating website, or something like that. They're being less truthful about themselves, or they're overinflating their accomplishments. Okay. What primarily they want to gain? They probably want to gain some emotional safety. They probably want to avoid emotional harm, psychological harm. They don't want to be rejected by being super truthful on the dating platform, right? So they take that. Now you see how it's an overlap. Okay, maybe they want to maintain something, but not really. If I'm on a dating website, I can't. There's nothing to maintain. I'm trying to gain something, and I want to avoid something. Okay, so what about a person who explodes in anger at something? You ask them a question, innocuous, and they blow up. Okay, it probably is more likely that they want to avoid something, right? Maybe they want to avoid the psychological harm that comes with actually answering that question. Maybe they want to avoid that psychological the psychological or emotional harm that comes with being vulnerable, right? Maybe they want to maintain their psychological emotional safety. See that overlap? For being vulnerable, right? So that's the how this thing really works. It's how it plays out. And I'm saying this because too often we want we'll look at behavior and without understanding that the behavior is only meant to get you to a goal. What's the goal? What's the outcome? Now, when you become aware of the motivation, now you get to say, okay, I need to do something different. I need to do something different, if at all, right? Because if the behavior is meant, if you, because not all avoidance of is unhealthy, okay, and not all maintaining or gaining is healthy. So we look at what the outcome is. But if you do stuff just knee jerk, you don't help yourself. You don't give yourself anything to work with, right? So when people say stuff like, "Oh, well, that's just my reaction." Okay, I got it. But what is driving it? What's driving it? Because if you are emotional like that, if you are responding emotionally, but you have no basis about what caused you to do what you did, it's not going to be helpful. You'll drive people away. You'll find yourself in this paradox of, I don't want to lose people, but I keep losing people because I won't let folks in. So all right, so that's part one. This is part one. Remember, avoid, maintain, or gain something, right? Most of the time it's psychological, emotional, or physical harm that you want to avoid. Most often it's, if it's in the maintain or gain, it's psychological, emotional, or physical safety. And the behavior, now the purpose for this, the behavior is the means whereby you sought to achieve the goal, right? The outcome, the avoid, maintain, or gain. The behavior is meant to move you towards one of those. And when you become aware of avoid, maintain, or gain, psychological, emotional, physical harm, psychological, emotional, physical safety, now you get to see, and now you're in a better space to decide if you want to continue with that behavior or you want to do something different. Now in part two, I'm going to give you some questions, and we'll kind of revisit this a little bit, but some of the questions that you might want to ask yourself to help explore a little bit deeper beneath the surface, on the avoid, maintain, or gain. Okay, so come back for part two, and I'll see you next time.